Right everyone, I'd like to welcome you to part 4 of my flash photography tutorial. In this segment we're going to cover, probably it's not far off the final segment, but what we will cover is high speed sync, and we're also going to cover, remember I've spoke about it in a few other videos but I've not really done it, where we're going to make, instead of it being full flash this time, we're going to let the picture be nearly all flash, so that we can use our shutter speed to brighten and darken the background, so that we can teach you to do 2 exposures. In the previous videos we was really near enough perfectly exposing the subject with just a kiss of flash, just to make it look nice. On like it's a cloudy day today, it'd be a perfect day to use that full flash. Some people may be thinking, and I have had a couple of questions, emails, saying, why didn't you use more flash and underexpose the ambient a little bit more? And the reason being was because I'm using direct flash, it's not that nice if you use lots of it. So we're going to photograph this gnome today, and we're going to use the front of the office as a background, and hopefully much flash won't spill onto the office. We'll be able to use a shutter to brighten and darken it, and you'll see it's quite harsh light, but it does emphasize the fact what I'm trying to point out. If you put a softbox on or soften the flash somehow, then yes, you could, like now I could put a softbox on this and make the light a lot softer, but I don't want to for the purpose of the video. I want it to be harsh so you can see what's going on. But I could have done yesterday when I was photographing my kids, but they wouldn't stand there long enough. I could have put a softbox on the flash and put it right close into the shot and underexposed the ambient 3 stops and used a lot of flash, and then I would have been able to slow the shutter down a little bit to brighten the background. But I didn't want to. I wanted to use full flash. Today we're not going to use full flash, we're going to use a lot of flash and then bring in the ambient. So of course, first things first, I'm going to get my test reading. Okay, right, you'll see that, I'm just checking them in the frame, you'll see that on the computer that it's pretty dark today. It's not near enough perfectly exposed. Settings I've gone for are 2/50th of a second, f3.5, ISO 200, and the image is dark. It's about 3 full stops, if not a bit more, underneath the ambient. And what we're going to do now is, we're going to leave the camera in manual, and the reason why we've gone to 2/50th of a second is the flash sync speed. We are going to bust that in a minute, but for now we're staying in our sync speed, and if I go above that I'm breaking the sync speed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn the flash on and just turn the power up or down until the gnome looks correct. Then once we've done that, all we're going to do is slow down a shutter, which I'll talk you through as I'm taking shots, and I'll show you what happens to the background, and you'll see the gnome will stay the same. We should get a little shadow on the side of the gnome's face here because I've got the flash coming in from this side. So when I slow down the shutter, it should start to brighten the shadow a bit, but not really the gnome itself. Obviously there will become a point where when you're slowing your shutter down, if you look at your meter, you might near enough become 0 on your meter, then obviously it will affect your exposure. But anyway, let's now take a picture of some flash. I'm trying to start out with camera a bit. Oh, right, I'll just get rid of that. That's wrong picture. We'll just turn the flash on. I'm at an 8th power. Right, okay, now that's completely blowing out, so we'll turn it down 3 stops. We'll go back up. 1, 2, 3. I'm at a 64th power now. And I'm going to go down a 1/3 of a stop and try that. I'm actually going to go down a 1/3 of a stop more. Right, okay. Now we've settled in at nearly enough minimum power on the flash. That's probably because I'm at ISO 200. You'll see it's really harsh is the light. It's really a shitty flash looking image, but the idea now is to show you how it will start slightly look a lot better once I start raising the ambient and mixing it with the flash. It'll look a lot better picture then, and it won't look as as shit, basically. But you'll see there's a big shadow down this side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start slowing the shutter down. So we're going to leave 250, well, I'm not going to leave 250 of a second, but we're at 3.5 ISO 200. I'm at 250th, I'll take one more at 250th, and then I'll go to 112/5, and then I'll half that again, so we're letting 2 full stops, more ambient light to the shot, and have a look what goes on. Now, you've got to be careful when you're doing this, like I said to you before, if you don't get your flash placed properly, it might spill onto your background, and then of course it will become part of your exposure. But that's up to you guys to figure that out. That's not that hard to figure out. So again, we'll take one at 250th, one at 1/2/5, and one at about 60th of a second. It'll still be underexposed, the ambient, at that, but you'll see what happens when we do that. You can have a look at the shadow. That was 250. We'll now go 1/2/5, and we'll now go to a 60th. And there you go. I'm just going to have a quick look at them now, we're here. And you'll see, if you look at that last shot, and if you look at the last 2 shots at 1/125th and a 60th of a second, they look so much more pleasing. You can't really tell it's flash. On the last picture, you'll see it on the computer, you guys, at 60th of a second. Let me just check I did shoot it. Yeah, at 60th of a second, it looks just like an ambient light picture, but it's not. So what we'll do is we'll now speed up the shutter to 1/100, see if we can bring a bit more of the shadow back and still make it look like a nice picture. So bearing in mind, all I'm adjusting is my shutter speed. I'll slow it, I'll go to 1/125th. Alright, and I'll show you them. I don't particularly like 1/125th. 1/100 of a second is nice. It's better than 250th of a second. 250th of a second is all flash. So there you go. I won't go on for too long on that. That's basically how that works. And of course, it's working today where it wouldn't have worked yesterday, because my first exposure is a good 3 stops underneath the ambient light. And that's why we've been able to bring the background up and down. Remember, if you're near enough perfectly exposed, you're not going to have much latitude on brightening and darkening. You might be able to brighten it a touch and darken it a little bit, but you're not going to have as much latitude as if you underexpose the ambient more. But bearing in mind, when you underexpose the ambient with a bare flash, it looks a bit shitty. So if you're going to do that, I mean, it won't work for a group shot, but if you're going to do some bridal shots and stuff like that, you can put a brolly on it. So then you can really underexpose for the sky. You can really underexpose the sky and get so the sky looks lovely. And then you can turn on the flash. You get nice soft light, even though your subject's pitch black. And then you can start to slow your shutter down from 250th. Even if you're at high speed sync, you can start to slow it down and slowly bring the ambient up until you're happy with that shadow. It saves you using a reflector. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is, the only difference I'm going to do now is, I'm going to use high speed. I mean, I don't even know if it's worth bothering using high speed sync. All high speed sync does is let me go above my sync speed to kill the ambient, and my flash won't give me the black line. So there's actually no point in me doing that part. It's just simple to understand. What we will do now is we'll have a go in ettl. We'll put the flash in ettl and see what happens. So I'm going to leave my settings at 250th of a second, and so it should look dark again, should the ambient. But let's see what the flash does. I'm in ettl and I've got no compensation on whatsoever. Oh, plus the EVs I have. Oh no. Right, okay, so we're in ettl, just test that. For some reason, every time I go into ettl on these triggers, it seems to want disconnecting them. Right, okay, I figured it out. What it is with these triggers, if you push the YN6226N really into the flash, ettl struggles. I don't really use it. You just got to pull it back a little touch. Anyway, I won't bore you with that, but it does do that on the D750. It didn't seem to matter into manual, but for ettl it'll need more pins connected. So now we're gonna do 250th of a second, 3.5, ISO 200. The ambient, I'll just turn the flash off. I'll just disable the flash. Right, we'll see what the ambient looks like again, and then we'll turn ettl on, see what that does for us. trying to get rid of that gnome in there. So there you go, you'll see that that's badly underexposed. So we'll now turn the flash back on in ettl. And you'll see that we've got a nice shadow down the left hand side, and you'll see that ettl's done not a bad job there. So that's automatic flash, you're not messing around with it. So what we'll do now is we'll take 5 shots in ettl, and let's see if ettl can get every shot right. Now I am underexposing the ambient a lot still, so that you can see how ettl performs. It should start messing up when we shoot wider, because it'll see the background and try light that up as well, and of course it'll blow the gnome out. So now we'll try a wide angle shot. Let's try that again. It's actually got that perfect. I'll go wider. Wow, he's doing a cracking job. See, that time now, you'll see that one, that's gone off a little bit bright in ettl. That's why it's handy to use manual, because we'll get much better results by using manual. So what we'll do though is we'll leave it in ettl, and we'll zoom in, and we'll try it again. Lovely. Now I'll start slowing the shutter down. Right, the flash seemed to get it wrong then, so we'll try it again. Yeah, you see them 2 shots, exactly the same framing, exactly the same thing, but for some reason, ettl on the previous shot got it wrong. On the last one, it looks grand, but again, let's get it off ettl and get it back to manual. We'll stick at that, and let's take a look. We're back in manual now. Lovely. I'll just check it fired. Lovely, we're in manual. What we'll do now is we'll slow that shutter down a bit more. And you'll see that that doesn't really look like a flash picture. The last one there, so we're at 60th of a second, f3.5, ISO 200. I'll just turn the flash off to make sure that we're still underexposing that ambient, which I'm looking at the shot, and if you look at it, it is underexposing the ambient, 2/3 of a stop, which is what you do for a portrait, and then fill in with flash. So if we just fill in with flash now and turn it back on, you'll see that it looks really gorgeous. Absolutely spot on, and you can't tell that you've used flash, it just looks like a normal exposure. So without further ado, we'll end that now. I think that's flash explained. Yes, I can put modifiers on it and stuff like that if you want me to do that, but that's actually not a flash tutorial then, is it? That's just doing modifiers and explaining how to use them. So hopefully now, after these 4 videos, you should be able to use fill flash, mixing with a bit of ambient confidently. You should be able to use all flash, which is today's lesson. Use all flash and control the background independently. Bearing in mind, if you remember that last shot I just took, I checked it without flash to check that I wasn't already exposed correctly without the flash, because obviously if you are, then your flash will blow the shot out and you won't know what's caused it. That's why you always take the ambient reading first. Definitely always take that ambient reading first and get your picture so that you know that it's right, because obviously if you just let AV do it and then turn your flash on and it gets it wrong, which one's getting it wrong? Is the ambient too bright? Is the flash too bright? That's why I recommend you learn manual, and then you can use ettl. Ettl does work. I use it at group shots at weddings sometimes when I'm in a pickle, and it tends to get it right a lot, but it doesn't get them perfect. So if you could get a flash off to the side in manual, get it about 10 metres away, 20 metres away, well maybe not 20, but a good 10 metres, so that the inverse square law comes in. Get your ambient, f8, 200 of a second, take a shot, get your ambient slightly under so the faces are just a touch dark, turn your flash on in manual, turn it up until they're not a touch dark, till you're happy with it, so it just fills in the faces slightly, and then just sit there and do all your group shots like that, and then they'll all be the perfect exposure out of the camera. When I say that, you might get it slightly wrong. Your flash might be a touch bright when you get home on the computer, or it might be a touch dark. You might need to brighten the raw files a bit, but that's great. Because you did everything in manual, you can turn your exposure up 1/3 of a stop, 2/3 on your first raw file, and sync it across to the other 150. So because you've done it in manual, that gives you that latitude of being able to do that. Anyway, I hope this video helps, and if anybody wants any more on Flash, I don't think you should now, just let me know, and thanks for watching. Please comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next.